Hi, and welcome to the Punk CX podcast. My name is Adrian Swinsko, and I'm an advisor, best-selling author, speaker, and general explorer when it comes to customer and employee experience. I'm really interested in figuring out what it takes to build organizations that produce better outcomes for both customers and employees. So with that in mind, I seek out and interview CEOs, entrepreneurs, business and tech leaders, authors and academics to uncover some clues about what it takes to build such an organization. Now, some of you may know the podcast as the Rare Business Podcast, but I decided to rename and rebrand the podcast recently. This is for a number of reasons. First one was to mirror the title of my book, Punk CX, which was published in June 2019. Two, because I'm a fan of punk music. And three, it's just more fun, right? Anyway, if this is your first time listening to one of these interviews, then hello and welcome. And please do dive into the archives at adrianswinsko.com, as I've now completed over 300 of these interviews in the last few years. If this is not your first time listening, then welcome back and thank you. Anyway, that's enough for me right now. Let's get into the interview. So welcome to the next edition of the Punk CX podcast. With me today, I have Robert Bell, who is the founder and CEO and president, no less, of 2B3D. Hey, Robert, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, Adrian. How are you?
I'm very, very well, very well. Now, Robert, for the listeners who are not familiar with you and your work and 2B3D, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and the work that you do, what you get up to?
Yeah. So, Southern California guy, surfer, snowboarder, and found out I was having a baby at 25 and jumped into sales, got into car sales, everything sales training, ended up in the medical field. And I started a company called Bell Medical Solutions. My wife and I have been running it for roughly 20 years. And the opportunity, it's been evolving over 2 years, but we've started 2B3D.com. And it's a passion project to help heal veterans suffering from PTSD using games and VR technology, coupled with actual real life cognitive tests.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, because we were talking in the setup to this kind of podcast, and I've had a bunch of people talk to me about the metaverse and like metaverse and customer service and metaverse and customer experience and blah 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 and more blahs. And I was a bit like, I've been hearing a lot about the metaverse and how it's going to be the next big thing. And I was like, oh, okay. And I'm sort of being a little bit reticent about the whole sort of thing. And because I've been also kind of seeing some horror stories about lack of safeguards and controls and all these different sort of things. And I also think it looks a bit kind of goofy when you've got a headset on. And so that's just one of that, but that's just me. But I've also been wondering about, because it's a thing, right? And it's got momentum and it's big and it's going to, there's a lot of people involved in it. And I've been also wondering about how it's going to integrate with and sort of impact our real and day-to-day sort of lives. So when we were talking, and big shout out to John Phillips for being in touch and setting this up and doing the introduction. He told me about what you and your team are developing. You're developing this application, as you say, called VRX, that is real world impacts and implications. Now, I know you alluded to it's a 2B3D is focused on kind of veterans. So tell me a bit about it and the problem it's solving and kind of what it's aiming to do and how it's aiming to do it, because I think it's really interesting in terms of making that leap between this is VR, this is metaverse sort of stuff, but this is real world impact, and putting those two things together. I've not really seen it much before, and I just thought that's why I want to talk to you, because it just opens up a whole bunch of possibilities.
Absolutely. So first, a little metaverse, you're right. It's this huge term that came out of nowhere. I mean, it's like, what is it? Web3 is the other term that keeps coming out. So all these new innovations, all this, I just went to New York for an NFT NYC. I mean, so many creative people using these new technologies. And yes, they're just like anything, the .com bubble, right? There's going to be failures, there's going to be whatever, but all this ingenuity is coming and people are trying to put real life application to it. So the way I see the metaverse is not one company that has a metaverse. I see it as just a new way of of interacting, right? So we've built ours in VR. We are going with the real life application. So I don't know if you've ever put on a VR headset. And by the way, the VR headsets that look clunky, that's another thing that's being fixed right now. I would say in the next 2 years, you're going to be wearing your Ray-Ban sunglasses and you'll be in VR.
Okay.
But, it's got to evolve, right? But, and, 2 years ago, I was told, just to get off topic, 2 years ago, I was told that VR is dead. It's not adopting fast enough. If you start a product in VR, you're 15 years out. And then last year for Christmas, every single kid got an Oculus headset, so it's like, it's coming. And when that happened, all boats rise with the tide. So, it feels good for us because we just went with the dream, but we're going with real life applications. So if you have not put on VR in a real life application, sometimes you don't even realize that you're not, it's not real. People will stand at a cliff and they won't take a step off. They just, my friend just told me he did a one with a clown in a sewer, like the It show, and he was terrified. He had to take the goggles off, so it's very real life. So to give an example, let's just say there was a tragic event in some small town, they'd say it, but like a school shooting. Well, the police officers, the moms, the family, the children, I mean, hundreds and hundreds of people, possibly, families, when you expand it, are going to need instant help, right? So with the VR goggles and the metaverse, if they had those on hand, I mean, you might have, say, 6 counselors in the whole city, right? But now you could have some vetted volunteers from across the world, and you put on those headsets, and now you're not in a game. You're literally there with them. The avatars, which is a recreation of yourself or however you want to be in the metaverse, but some of them are so real that I'll do meetings with people and I'll say, hey, this guy said he knew you. And they'd be like, oh yeah, no, I recognize him. And then I'll show the video play and you'll see the eyes come out. It's not even a real person. So it's so lifelike that you can't tell the difference. That's what we aim to do. We're building like that. But for our project in particular, our passion project, it started with me wanting to build an art gallery. NFTs were just starting to pop a little bit, and I wanted to build an art gallery. And my co-founder, Andrew, had gone away to the military. He wanted to build a gaming company since I can remember. Like in high school, he was got the #1 score in Nintendo magazine for playing Indiana Jones. It was in the magazine. It was a huge thing for him. He started a snowboard company called 5150. It went to be the #1 snowboard company and just took over that. We had so much fun with that. But he sold that. He sold his house on the beach for such a weird, like nobody got it, but he said, I'm going to go to 3D gaming school and I'm going to start learning this. This is what I want to do. And he went all the way through and got his master's. He's so talented. But along the way, in between master's and graduating top of his class from San Francisco gaming school, he enlisted in the Army, which was just another freak show. Like we just don't get it, but okay. And over there, he got the combat medic badge, which is very elusive. And what that really means is that while under fire, instead of running, he was saving lives. So he has he experienced a very traumatic situation, and he came home different. And so his talking to him and me trying to talk about the art this 2 years ago, NFT art studio, he was saying that he's having a really tough time. He needs to see a psychiatrist or a therapist or whatever it is. And you go to the VA for that. And I'm not going to say anything bad about the VA, but it's over too many people. Right. Too many people for too little staff, let's just say, and they need help. So it takes him about a month. And this just happened last week. He had waited a month to see the therapist, and he drove there, and the therapist wasn't able to make it in that day. Right. There was no call to say, hey, he can't make it. We're going to reschedule for tomorrow. It's just, over inundated. So, a person that's suffering from such a stressful problem that really, hit harder than it would hit me. I'd be like, okay, whatever, we'll reschedule, right? But it was a really big deal. And so his theory was, if we could build a hospital where I could just put on headsets and I could talk to a therapist right then and there. That's because what happens is when they get these PTSD spirals, it hits hard. And due to that, I can't say 100%, but a large portion of 31,000 veterans that have killed themselves since 9/11, it's assumed, and I'm sure there's lots of studies on it, but that most had PTSD, right? And what happens there is they go through this spiral, and they're in the Army, and you get this mentality of I would die for you, right? I would fight for you. I'd back you, and you get this camaraderie that's so strong. I mean, the friends that they make are lifetime friends, right? And then they get out, go home, have an issue, and they're not interacting with their families or friends or coworkers the way they were, because it's post-traumatic stress disorders is intense. And they're using a permanent solution for a temporary problem, right? Is what they're doing. And so it was said to me that, if, the numbers may not be exact, but the gist, if you could get to someone that's planning on killing themselves within the first 15 minutes, you have a 90% success rate of talking them down, right? And so that's where this started happening. We started having meetings. I mean, I just thought it was a great idea. Let's help some veterans. We're doing an art gallery. Let's move forward. Let's do all this. And I would have meetings, and along the way, we partnered up with a nonprofit called Forge Forward Project, and they're the nicest guys in the world, and they have one mission: to end veteran suicide. That's their mission. They want to use VR technology to do it. It's a great fit. We've become unbelievable friends, and we're working together in this fight. And but bringing them on the team meetings, you start hearing. I mean, we got a group of 3 colonels on our team, and the Forge Forward Project, which is all military, and a few others. But this small group of, say, 20 people. I want to say that there's been 25 suicides since I started working with them in the last year and a half, of their close friends that they were in the Army with. It's just ridiculous. My best friend has had 3 medics that have lost their lives to suicide in the last 2 months. It's just it's incredible. But while having these meetings, I had this aha moment probably about a year ago. Before it was just like art, veterans, VR, new thing, make money. And they had mentioned 22 push-ups a day, to signify the 22 veterans that are taking their lives each day. And so I just drifted off. I drifted off, and I started writing. I'm heading the meeting, and I'm just kind of dazing off. So I write down like 22. I times it by 10 to 20, times it by 30, 600. Then I times that by 12 months of the year, and I was like, holy, no way! Like this, if you told me like 6,000 florists or 6,000, like any individual group of people were, and then there's a 90% chance that we could end that. Like, I mean, for most of those, at least a large portion, right? If we could get in there. A little personal about myself. Most people don't like to talk about it. I'm personally alcoholic, right? I haven't had a drink in years, but I did go through AA, and I would go into the rooms, and there's support, right? There's people that have been there before, done that, and they help you get back to. So I really resonate with that. I volunteer at a nonprofit detox house, and what they do is they bring in. We call it the place where when nobody loves you anymore, that's where you can go, right? Yeah. So you come in and you watch the transition over 10 days from like, stumbling in to walking out, and you try to get them into a job, a house. And what that does for me is incredible. It's just that giving back is incredible. Well, with the alcoholic, it's a long suffering, death, right? If you continue to drink, your liver goes out or whatever the case may be. But with these veterans, it's like, it's instant. They can be 22 years old, and then it's boom, it's over. And so that whole theory of helping another person, it just resonated with me so much that I started to just get like super passionate into this. And the more that I dove into it, the more I realized that it's not if, it's when we get this finished, and we had to speed it up. So we kind of put, everything's being built. It's a large project. There's lots of different things. There is the NFT art house. There's the gaming sector to it, and there's all these different things. But the mission right now is to get those goggles in the hands of those who suffer, right? And so what we're doing, to explain what it is we're not just putting it on and you're going to talk to a therapist. There will be a VR room setting where 50 veterans, volunteers. I mean, talk about understaffed. I'll tell you one thing that will happen that I've seen is, if there's a veteran in need, you will see a veteran help. They will go to call. And so we're setting up these rooms where there will just be other veterans that have been there, done that, just waiting, and talking. And so the guy puts on his goggles, immediately he'll be with one of those. If it's a red alert, we tag him through with a therapist or whatever the case may be. But so that's where it just kind of got serious. And it is that it's a portal. Doesn't matter if you're in Africa, Germany, a portal to instant access to somebody willing to help. And then the Forge Forward project along the way had coupled up with a medical group. And so 25 years of Naval Academy research shows that VR affects the brain differently than real life tests. And it helps PTSD. So VR in itself helps PTSD, helps people with PTSD, just putting VR on. Well, this group, I think that, and once again, I say numbers and fact check me if you want, but it's what I've been hearing. It's the gist. 14% reduction in symptoms is pretty standard for getting therapy or whatever it is that you can do to get help for PTSD. This group has been getting numbers like 65%, 85%. Some of their patients don't show symptoms anymore. It's just a crazy number. And so we had asked, a neuroscientist, I believe Harvard neuroscientist, come take a look at the paperwork with a few other doctors, and it quickly gained traction. Meta just did a teaser video on a little. They're doing a story. Their nonprofit's doing a story on Forge Forward project, and we're in it as well. Our rooms and mentioned a lot, but they just tweeted out yesterday or day before yesterday saying, "Great job, what you guys are doing." But the group, what we ended up coming up with was, if we could take those tests, which maybe cost $40,000-$50,000 for one patient to complete, and we could duplicate them in VR, then turn them into gamify them, turn them into something fun, make healing fun, but get the same results, if not better. And that's what everybody's believing, is that it'll be better because it is in VR. And so we're on the process of doing that right now. They have a tool that maps the blood flow in the brain. So it's one of a kind tool that they have. And due to funding through this process, they were able to make it even better. And they were able to get 5 very PR ready patients that have severe PTSD. And I don't think at the moment I could say who they are, but let's just say that most people will recognize them, or at least recognize what they do.
Right.
And they all just went to an Airbnb. We're doing our first clinical trial with those doctors that were reviewing the paperwork. They said, no, we want to be on the white paper. So they're down there and they're videotaping it for a documentary, style, but the 5 are in the house, they're getting the tests. And once those come out, now that they did get funding from a large source to improve that tool that they have. And that's going to give us the markers as to where we need to go. So in real life, they'll have a Dynaboard, which lights up and does all these different things.
Right.
In our game, it'll be the same thing. If it's a red light or a green light or a blue light, it could be something, falling at you, or, catch this or shoot that or do whatever it is. But the exact same thing in order to make the blood flow travel to the damaged part of the brain, where 20% if you can get 20% reduction in symptoms, of the brain being healed there, the brain starts to heal itself. Mm-hmm. So when you're getting 14% across the board, the brain's not healing, right? But if you're getting 65%, I mean, it's just it could. Well, I think it's going to revolutionize the way we treat it.
Can I jump in there? Because the thing is that those numbers are it's like crazy numbers, right? But I think it's like there's an Arthur C. Clarke quote that says, so the impact or the effects of advanced technology, or like the way that people view advanced technology is not really different from the way that people view magic.
Yeah.
Because it's so outside our sort of like what we think is achievable and normal and possible and all that sort of stuff. And so those numbers are a little bit like, wow, that's cool. It's like advanced technology, but it's like, oh, it's magic. It feels like magic, but that's kind of cool. That's all right, right?
Yeah.
But the other thing I was going to say, because I want to come back to, because I would just so people really understand this, is because actually right at the very core of the application with what you're doing, the VRX sort of thing, is because you mentioned it sort of about it's a kind of game, because actually you are centering kind of this, and at least the engagement part of it is centered around a shooter game, right? And I just wanted to clarify kind of that, because a shooter game for veterans that are suffering from PTSD, it's like, how does that make sense? And because I think it's important to set that kind of context, kind of, right? Yeah. Because that's the engagement. Because otherwise, people would be like, going, "What? That just sounds crazy." Kind of given, but it's sort of almost like there's an inverse sort of logic, kind of like into it, or it's like a social logic to it. Explain to me how that works.
Adrian, you and me exactly the same on that. Okay, I really was like, no, why would we? Why would we do that? Why would we want to put him in that situation? And it was really like, I couldn't believe it, because it was such a unanimous, like they came with, this is what we got to do. The reasoning behind it is the younger generation in the military resonates with this. This is what they want to do. My friend that went to gaming college, the teacher said that there's 3 things that you need in order to succeed with a game. And it's fun, and fun, right? If it's not fun, they won't come back.
Mm-hmm.
So this is what they're playing. This is what they're doing. This is what they, now we do have a switch, where you can turn it off and you don't have to play the game. You could just be in the metaverse and you could just, what I mean? So that nobody has to play the shooter game, and there will be soothing environments and other options, right? But they resonate with it. This is what they do. They play Halo. They play this, there are studies from other groups out there that what they'll do is they'll put somebody with traumatic, they'll put him back in that situation, relive that situation. I had to put my foot down. If it helps, that's amazing. And I'm glad there's people out there doing it, but I just couldn't handle like me saying like, what if somebody, got worse. Right. So we're not taking that avenue personally as a company, at least. No. Well, I'm here for now anyways, let's say, but yeah, so the shooter, there's a disconnect from reality and they know it, they've been playing shooting games since, and I hate to generalize, but that's the larger portion. Will have fun if they're aiming at stuff and target practicing and, or whatever, something's coming at them. And, so I would say it's not even, like all Smith and Wesson, no. Some of it's freeze ray and, bubblegum shooting and, whatever. I mean, all different kinds of, there's going to be fun in the fact of what weapon do you have. Right. So there's a whole lot of different stuff going on there. And,
but I think the point is it's kind of multiplayer sort of like games, right? It's like a challenge, right? And shooter games are a big kind of part of that. And people play it with their friends and their colleagues and their peers and stuff. And they might play it when they're on tour and all that sort of like stuff. And so I guess there's a normalization element of it, which goes, that's what
it is.
This feels normal. And actually I get to maybe hang out with or talk to with kind of my buddies. And it's like, you're telling me about, that's the safe space.
Yeah.
Right.
If we can put a game in there that they enjoy playing and something goes wrong and they can just click over and be in a room. I mean, we're talking instant, like way before the spiral goes, because it intensifies. I'm not saying they won't have the spiral, but right away there's somebody with them, they can like talk them through it. And, I'd be honest, I'd never experienced a PTSD episode that I was aware of prior to starting this project. We do have several people on the team that have severe PTSD. And I mean, it gets you to a point where you, as a human being, I would never talk to that person again. Right. I would just never, he would be cut from my life. I would never talk to him again. And that's the isolation, right? I mean, imagine how many friends they must lose that don't understand what's going on, right? But since I've been here and I've been through it and I've gotten through those episodes, amazing people, severe problem. The brain takes, it's damaged. They got damaged. And I'll tell you what, this is a project. I mean, I've been working professionally for a number of years, and this is a project that I wake up every morning super excited to get one step closer.
Nice.
Fox News just did a 15-minute segment. This is PTSD Awareness Month. I'm not sure when this will air, but there's a few days left. And so they did a segment with one of our, along the way, we've partnered with quite a few different people, collabed or whatever, but BioCore RX, they're addiction treatment company, publicly traded. And they had a segment on Fox News 11 where they talked about our company for 15 minutes. And it was just so cool to see that movement where it's like, it's not me saying, hey, everybody, guess what? It's somebody else talking about us, Meta talking about us. It just shows that, there's, let me just back up a little bit. We're going after grants. Right. This is something that we're going after grants. We brought 3 colonels in to the team that have like success in understanding and winning grants. And once they started putting those in, they said something along the lines of like, it would be nice if we had some letters of intent, from somebody, to go with the grant. Mm-hmm. The same day, we had Senator Thatcher from Utah. We had a 3-star general. We had a president of the VA and all write long letters and send them to go with our grants. And that was in one day. So I don't even know where we're at right now with that, but it was just like, this is a project that we brought everybody back from Afghanistan. Now I know this is a world project, but just from my personal experience, we brought them back from Afghanistan. And, so we just like flooded back with, and a lot of these people have this issue. So everybody's waking up to it and they're seeing it. Before it was like the veteran on the corner that's screaming, got all these problems, from Vietnam, just like he's just drunk, or he's just not. Now everybody understands, like, whoa, there's PTSD, there's a problem, and it's here, and the death rate is astronomical. It's not okay. If you think back to the day that the person signed up for the military, sure, they weren't thinking this is what they were going to come home with, and now that they did, I mean, we need help, right? I mean, the beginning of this project, we were trying to come up with taglines, and like, oh, we got to brand it, we got to this, and like everybody was talking, and they're like, well, we need the why, what's the why? And, I just said, because we should, right? I mean, that's it. It's just that simple, because we should. And then we did an NFT, and they put my saying on there. I was kind of choked up. I was just like, oh, but I mean, that's the why here, is because we should. And like you said, the magic. We have it. We have the magic. We have the tools. Even if we're not 100% successful, we know the tools to reduce. And
how does that work in terms of, like, say, from a veteran's experience? I mean, can you walk me through that? I mean, or is that still something you're kind of like, well, how does it work? How do you get? How might they come across how they get access to it, or is that still all kind of like in development?
That's still in the works. I mean, the game plan is to take that $50,000 testing, all of that, turn it into a program that can preload on a headset, right? A $300 headset. So there's your initial healing game, let's call it. And then connecting to any, to our room would just be a free connection to the room to talk to the people. This is the plan. There's going to be funding and all sorts of stuff that comes into the works with this, but we're starting nonprofits, or not, anyways, fundraisers. It's called Goggles for Vets, right? So we're going to try to get as much free, the word free, as much as possible, into the system. But right now there's and I'm not sure if I can, I'm just going to do it, but there's a hotline being developed for mental health. And we've been told that if they opened it, it would explode, and they couldn't handle it. Right. So we might be testing that through our system, right? So just to where those guys go. But as far as getting it, we're not there yet. We're still building, and we just finished our prototype, which is, I mean, it just blows my mind. I've been in it, and I think what will happen is, with the prototype, I'm hoping we'll start testing not 5 patients, 200 patients, 2,000 patients, and we won't wait till the finished product to get, to start helping.
And how does the kind of because yeah, I get it. I get the kind of the application. But I think it's really exciting. I mean, the idea that you can, like, you go back to what you said, is like, if you can get to somebody within 15 minutes of them contemplating self-harming or kind of like worse than that, then you've got a 90% chance of preventing it going kind of any further. So collapsing that gap to access to talking to somebody, which doesn't require any logistics of booking appointments or time waiting or traveling or all that sort of stuff, which your colleague kind of experienced when he went to see the VA, and then they didn't tell him. Yeah. And I know he had a bit of a meltdown there because it was a bit like, hold it a little bit too much. So if you collapse that, so it's like therapy at scale for many people that don't have access to it. That makes kind of sense. But how does that kind of work in terms of the whole NFT element? Because it's not just about art. I mean, there's an NFT element that's about access to therapeutical tools. Is that right?
Absolutely. Yes. I mean, so NFT, if we want to jump into that, you said art, right? So NFT, art, that's what everybody is associating it with art. That's because that's what everybody, that's what popped it up. And you can change that to collectibles, right? So everybody's collecting NFTs, right? With art. Really, the NFT is the first real, crypto, blockchain, whatever, first real digital property, right? So if you go to the Mona Lisa and you see it, and you walk into the gift shop and you buy a poster for $8 or probably $40 there, I would imagine. But whatever it is, you don't own the Mona Lisa, right? But if you took that Mona Lisa, that a team of experts could prove that you own that. So this, when you get something on the blockchain, an NFT, it's unique. You own it. It's in your wallet. Everybody can verify you own it. So even if somebody snapshots, like but my story starts out with my brother telling me, you need to buy a CryptoPunk. And I'm like, what the heck is a CryptoPunk? And he's all, dude, you will be financial freedom if you buy one of these. And I'm like, oh my gosh, dude, this is a pyramid or something weird, some scammy coming at me, right? So I look, and it was just this pixelated picture of a face. And it was I think $7,000 at the time. Well, Visa just bought one for $1 million and put it in their treasury, right? So it was, probably financial freedom to buy a few of those, but it caught my interest. And then they came out with these Bored Apes, right? And those went boom, like, I was like, it'll never happen again. So I'm like, that was just they're like first digital property. So then I go, okay. So then I jump in and I don't get that. And then the next one I find is MetaBillionaire. Now I'm on the FOMO craze, just like everybody else, right? I'm like, I got to get it. So I end up becoming the biggest well in that. Well, it actually paid off for us because they have they had a program where the community votes on who they want to invest in, and we just won that competition last week. So that press release went pretty viral. Lots of blogs, and what it's cool about it is gets to tell our story along with the fact that we won that competition. But through this whole process, it intrigued me. Why are people paying this much money for an NFT? And I started doing research on it. I decided, there should be a book on this. So I went to Amazon, there was nothing. 2 months later, we on our team, we have an award-winning author. So we're talking, okay, we're gonna put this together the whole way through. We're gonna build this book. 2-3 months later, 60 of them. It was just like everybody, it just boom. So it just popped, right? So non-fungible token NFT is not art, right? It's art. Art is attached to that token, So the use case for digital property is, I've heard Kathy Woods from ARK Investments say it a million times. It's like these use cases, the internet was invented without a way to really own something on it, like currency, or, it's like you can buy it and you can connect it to your bank, but to actually interact like that. And so when I said in New York, when I went to this thing, the genius and the creativity of all these people taking this, like right now you can buy an island. And if you own a piece of the NFT, you own the island, and that's all you need is to own that NFT because it's property. It's your right to it. And I immediately went into like, well, what can we do that's different and make it? And so we started with the theory of prescriptions, right? So prescription pads, you go to the doctor, and what if somebody steals a prescription pad, forges a signature, whatever? When it's peer to peer, it can't. If the pharmacy or the MRI facility or the whatever it is, it has their section wallet, and you have this, and you send it. There's zero fraud. You can look and see it came from that particular person's wallet. So zero fraud, less than a penny if you're using the right blockchain, and seamless, right? So I got to back up a little bit on the seamless. I used to go when I was 18, 19, I would get my paycheck and I would go to Bank of America and I would stand in an hour line. It would take forever. My friends in my peer group, they would start saying things like, oh, I do Wells Fargo on Friday. It's only a 30-minute line. And this made sense to me to change my bank to get less of a line, right? As you get older, there's an ATM you can deposit your check through now. That's great. So you drive to the bank and, now there's a drive-through ATM. Well, then I can take a picture of my check and deposit it. I haven't been to the bank in a year. You know what I mean? I would never go back. And it's like, so that improvement that you don't notice is happening, is happening. Like the telephone on the wall, I used to have to take it into the bathroom if I wanted to talk to a girl and not have my family here with the long cord, and then the computer, I'd have to go to school if I wanted to play on the computer, and now I could do all of it in the bathroom on my phone, or anywhere, it's like, we're moving forward. And that's what this is, it's one of those movements, in my opinion, the whole thing. And the NFT is a huge, crucial part of it. So what we're doing now with BioCore RX, the publicly traded company that just talked about us on Fox, they're a treatment program. They have all. I don't want to get too far into it because I'll murder it. But they have modules that do cognitive therapy, and we're taking this and we're turning that into an NFT. NFTs are now another company we're working with, See My NFT, where you're seeing a physical piece of art that doesn't do anything. Well, now they're making these NFTs interactive. We can do all sorts of stuff. I just recently saw one through See My NFT. It's somebody took a comic book from, I don't know, let's just say the first comic book, whatever it was, $1 million comic book, and they turn the pages on it. It's slowly, you can turn the pages. You can look at it. It's the comic book with the wrinkles and whatever. And they made, let's say, 1,000 of fractions of it. And they sold it. If you bought all 1,000, you own that comic book, right? But otherwise, it's locked up in a safe, and you own a percentage of it, and you can sell it as you go. But it's not just a picture of the comic book. You're actually interacting with it. You're moving it. So NFTs are just going to be so important to our system. You come in, and right now we're doing our first NFT launch. We're not doing it as a famous piece of art. It's a badge, right? A badge of honor. In the military, they have challenge coins.
Mhm.
So first time I'd ever seen this happen. My brother got out of the mill. My brother has major PTSD. I swear for like 8 years, I just thought he became a jerk, you know, and now I realize what's going on. I feel so bad. But I mean, I've always loved him. I was best man at his wedding in Florida last month. But I was a celebrity. There was a show called Saved by the Bell, and the principal on that show, Mr. Belding, was a friend of mine. And we go to a bar with my brother, and he just puts this coin on the table, and my brother goes like, "Ah," and walks away and comes back with drinks. And I'm like, what was that? He's all, oh, it's a challenge coin. If you don't have it, the person has to buy the round, or if you have the better one or something. And I, whatever, I stopped thinking about that. But as we got more into it, so many military, I started asking if they had them, and then pulling out 80 of these things, right? You get them for different events and different things. And you have custom ones made. So we've got the Genesis project for 2B3D, which is the badge, and so we opened our Discord expecting 20, 30 people to come in. It was like 1,000 within a minute. I mean, our Discord right now is just exploding. Everybody's wishing me good luck for this podcast. You know what I mean? Just like exploded. so much help. It's just great. But that's so, let's just say you're in the therapy room and you want to draw, right? That clears your head. You want to paint, right? Then boom, attach it to a token and put it up in our store for sale. Or you want to, whatever. It's limitless. So what we wanted to do.
I know you can mention the go back to you talked about the research, and you talked about the Dynaboard and using the VR, and how you can do the different Dynaboard sequences, and because they're mapping it to the blood flow in the brain and all that sort of stuff. And I guess you could probably get a programmable or a personalized program that's related to like a Dynaboard or something that would be in an NFT that you could probably put your VR kind of on, and you'd be like going, that's mine. That's kind of part of my, if you like, maybe CBT course or whatever. And
that's what we're doing with BioCore. That's a BioCore where we're NFT and their CBT. That's what we're doing with them. So yes, the answer is absolutely yes.
Cool. I mean, we talked about the research and stuff. I mean, because and this is one of the reasons I, like I said at the beginning, I wanted to talk to you, because it's almost like what you're doing. So yes, a very extreme case, PTSD linked to veterans. Now, whatever you think about military action and all this stuff overseas, all that's by the by, right?
It's a human project.
Yeah, it's a human project. People do stuff and suffer negative consequences as a result of their service in particular kind of areas. Boom, that's it, right? And I'm just thinking, actually, there's so many, I can envisage so many similar applications in adjacent areas, particularly in that mental health sort of like space. I mean, is that the plan for this?
Yeah. Oh yeah. This is flagship, right? Flagship number one, veterans, help as many as we can, continue to help as many as we can. But this was just asked in the Discord. There was a guy from, I believe it was Germany, and he said like, oh, but I don't live in America. And I'm all, this is not an American product. It's being made in America right now, but this is a human product, right? So this is going to go, I mean, we've already had other people from different sectors of armies and stuff like that know people, because some of our people are really high up, like in the military, and so they know, and they want it. It's a human project, and PTSD in veterans is step one. However, step 2, 3, and some that we haven't even thought of and won't think of for 2 years, right? But depression, right? I mean, anything. I mean, the mommy that stays at home and she can't handle it, and she's got whatever. It's instant access to.
And just guess what? We're just coming out of a kind of pandemic, and then mental health is on the rise, because there's all this isolation and dislocation that's been going on, and grief and loss and all the other kind of like stuff that goes on with kind of like just life. And then you add on the other kind of bit, and then it's like there's a mental health almost like ticking time bomb. It's starting to show, but like there's a lot of people that need a lot of help.
I mean, I can tell you that convention I just went to, it seemed like every project that I met with, somebody somehow, some way, they were talking about how they were in the mental health game. You know what I mean? Because it's such it's talked about so much, because it is showing. It's showing. I mean, you're seeing. I mean, I don't want to say that everybody's mental health online, but I mean, I'm seeing some stuff that I didn't see before. The way that people are talking. It's like, whoa, there's some issues out there. But it's step one, and I think we'll really quick go to step 2, which would be the next group of people, or a general group of people. And we've already been contacted by a few different like WebMDs, people that see the doctor online. There's just something about being in a small dirty studio apartment, putting on goggles and being at a plush palace and talking to a doctor, right? Just like immediately you go, there's And I'm not totally sold on I'm going to spend a lot of time in these goggles. I'm personally, right? I'm not sold on it yet, but there's numbers where they're saying it's going to be to where there's going to be like full-time jobs. You're going to be in the metaverse. And like, so our metaverse, for instance, is starting with a space station, right? Well, right now, like with the NFTs that we're doing, you might get the statue in the arena as a it's attached to that or whatever, all these things, but you own this property and you can leave your stuff there and you get in and, it's exciting, and I could see how that would happen. I mean, I look at the kids. I look at my son. If I didn't tell him to stop, I mean, he's a competitive surfer. He's 12, and if I didn't tell him to stop, he would be on Roblox 24 hours a day. It just never stopped. That's another thing with NFTs that's huge, by the way. Parents, if you're listening, how much money do you spend on video games, right? Like, oh, I need the new hat, I need the new gun, I need to do everything. What we're doing here is when it comes to the gaming part is you're selling a piece of the game. So when you're done with that gun or that hat or whatever, you sell it. You didn't just buy it and throw your money away. You put it up on OpenSea and you sell it. And like, the room, you don't want the room anymore. You want to play the next better one. You just put it up and you can sell it. You can't do that with anything else. And I think that you'll probably see like how there's a battle with, governments and crypto. I think we'll see the same thing with gaming and metaverses, because right. I mean, a lot of the gaming companies know that if the metaverse comes and people can sell and buy their stuff back and forth, you're not going to sell the same gun 100 times. You can only sell it once to just keep passing around. And gaming people, if you're listening, I'm not trying to hurt you. It's just it's an evolution thing that's coming. And so yeah, we right from the very beginning, I said I need this VR room to be built in a way that we can connect our wallets, bring in safely, bring in NFTs and be able to do it. And we accomplished that. I'm sure with all the talent that's out there, it's been accomplished by more than one person by now, but that was our first step. And so it'll be a huge part. So that the NFT drop that we're doing it's the genesis. It's a small portion. What we're really doing is that we're building a community of supporters that are helping us, and like there'll be all sorts of rewards. We as a team, we know this NFT drop is not the one that we're looking to make a bunch of money. It's the one we'll probably lose money on it over a course of time because so many rewards and stuff like that. But what we're doing is, if I want to go talk to a senator and I tweet 10 times and she's getting 1,000 tweets a day, she might not see it. But when you got 5,000 people tweeting the same person 10 times, now you got 50,000 tweets. Somebody's going to catch that phase. So that's where we're doing our justice. I'm sorry, I might have lost my
No, that's absolutely fine. But yeah, I just think I actually think so. Like, just to reiterate, I mean, it's just like, I think it's fascinating and exciting, kind of what you're doing, because it's taking this technology that I've been like, kind of like, not really sort of like. I was looking for the real connect, right? And you opened up a little kind of a little gap and going, here's a real world problem. And this is how we can use this advanced technology to address this kind of real world kind of problem. And I thought that's exciting because it's got scalable application to it. Yep. So it goes, it's veteran PTSD because we want to help people and reduce the suicide rate and so on and so forth. And that's kind of like brilliant. But then you go prove it and then scale it into all sorts of other kind of different areas where actually access to therapy and help shouldn't be about how much money you've got in your back pocket.
No.
Right? Because this is, the people need help. And there's a lot of kind of help, and particularly given what we've gone through the last kind of couple of years, there's a lot of people, whether it's depression or loneliness or isolation, all these different sort of like kind of things. And that's why I wanted to talk to you about it, because it shows you actually there's some good potential, really good stuff kind of coming out of the metaverse. And that's kind of like, I thought that was brilliant. So, Robert, I think you just need to congratulate kind of you and your team on the kind of what you're doing and the kind of the mission and with the folks that you're working with. But
I appreciate that.
I get the feeling that you could talk about this for hours. However, I want to make sure that kind of my listeners kind of stay on. But I wanted to just quickly ask you: is there anything else you'd want to add or highlight that we've maybe kind of like missed out before we sort of step back a little bit and just I ask you some broader sort of questions?
Yeah, real quick. I mean, definitely, I would like people to not necessarily buy our NFT, but join our Discord and become part of the community, especially if you're a veteran out there. We're
if you know a veteran.
Or if you know a veteran, tell them about us. Go to it's Twitter at 2v3D Inc. There'll be lots of links. We're doing lots of promotions for this NFT, but you'll have the link to get into our Discord. I really want to build a community that is on, the people that want to help. You know what I mean? So whether or not you want to buy an NFT, there's only a certain amount of NFTs anyways, right? So that we're selling, but I would love to have that. Anybody that would like to support us, to join or follow us on Twitter and, join the Discord, join whatever our social medias, and we'll constantly be looking for ways to help other people. Today we're doing something really special. I'm not going to say, I know this is taped, but we're going to go out and take the early supporters that are in our Discord now, and we're going to go help a nonprofit by retweeting something, just to do something good. Selfless acts is like what we want to kind of. It won't stick with veterans forever. I mean, we are veteran launched, and we got a long ways to go with this. But we're just going to try to be that company that wants to make a difference and help. No politics, no anything, like just help. Who needs serious help? I wanted to get that out there.
No, absolutely. That's kind of perfect. And I think that's the what I would also say is like, check them out on Twitter. Also go to 2b3d.com, because they've got a whole bunch of kind of videos on there, which are explainer videos that help you end up seeing inside the room and all these different things, and adds a lot more kind of color to that, because I think that's kind of important, because I admit I had to get my head around it kind of a little bit when I kind of like started, and so that all that stuff kind of like had to help with things. But I think it's, as I say, I think it's an important real world kind of application of technology that's kind of, it's not just entertainment related stuff. This is real world sort of stuff, and that's the thing that really excited me about it. So
entertainment brings you back.
Yeah.
Right. But the purpose of being there in the first place, a lot of these patients will start treating and they won't go anymore, right? because it's too far. They've got to work. They've got so many things, so many problems that they wish they did. And then all of a sudden, boom, they're in that moment, and it's lights out or whatever you want to say, but self-harm. Make it fun, have them there, and have that service offered. I mean, I just can't wait. I just really feel like if it's not us and somebody else does it, I don't care. You know what I mean? Of course, I'm a business guy, but this is all about a passion project 100% for me at this point. I'm just looking to get that help. I've had emails, phone calls, of parents that have lost their child, husbands that have lost their brother, whatever. I mean, all across the board. But I've also had, one of our guys got an email that said, I was about to do that last night, and I read through your stuff, and I just made myself promise I would wait to try this first. Right. So, I mean, without even doing anything, we got that, I don't know how that'll go, but I mean, I've got people saying like, oh, my wife was, my love of my life went away, came back, violent, hit me. We got divorced. I thank her for her service, but she's just not the same thing. I'm just like, if we could take 80% of PTSD symptoms and get rid of that, I think 20%, the world would do so much better, because it's not the veteran only. It's their children, it's their wives, it's their coworkers, it's their friends, it's their family. I mean, it's the communities will be better. I mean, there are a lot of veterans suffering, and we want to take away that pain, and we want to try to help heal and make healing fun. But it's the communities as well that will gain back their fellow
awesome
human.
Nice one. So, Robert, you're a business guy. That's what you kind of said. It's like, so I want to switch gears a little bit, and I've been saying that I've been labeling it that we're emerging from the pandemic years, he says, doing air quotes on a kind of audio recording, which is a bit weird. But like, I've also been asking kind of people, so to reflect on what are some of the biggest lessons that you've learned over the last couple of years that are going to inform how you do things kind of going forward?
Oh, man, so much, right? So first and foremost, my other medical business, right? We have 1,000 locations throughout Southern California that we work with, and we cater to personal injury attorneys. Mm-hmm. And so if I have a meeting, it's in San Diego. If I have a meeting in Los Angeles, if I have a meeting, you get one meeting done. And for me, that's an hour drive or a 2-hour drive, 4-hour drive. So I hired marketers, and then the marketers are like, hey, I really need you on this meeting. And I do 10 Zoom meetings in an hour and a half, and I don't move, right? That's been a big change for me, but everything's different, right? I mean, first of all, I don't go to 7-Eleven personally. Like my wife is like, she's like, I can't wear a mask. Other people are like, you have to wear a mask or you're, but like, I still like put my shirt on my hand when I open doors, and like, the whole world. So let's just face it. Not everybody wants to go outside and go to a doctor's office with 30 people waiting. right? I mean, there's a lot of, if we'll ever be done with this COVID thing, right? And a lot of people are struggling. They lost their jobs or whatever, and so I just see this as a just such a great way to, just put on your goggles and you're in. I think it solves a lot of problems. And I might have answered that question wrong. I apologize. I think I went on that.
No, that's fine. But I know
you can re-ask.
Yeah, no, that's fine. So another question is like, so if I was we talked about a bunch of different things, and as you say, you've kind of you started and sold businesses, and you run kind of like different businesses, this one as well as kind of the medical business. So you've kind of got a lot of experience.
Yes.
And if I was to say to you, you can like boil it right down, it's like, this is the Robert Bell, do this sort of thing, which is, what would be your best advice to someone listening in that wants to improve their, say, the customer experience?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I have like a motto that well, first of all, Tony Robbins stole this from him, was constant, never ending improvement. Right. So you're never finished. You're never finished. You always constantly never ending improve. In business, I refuse to work with people that I don't like, right? And I like 99% of the population, right? If somebody is not a good character, I will not work with them. I don't care how much business or whatever it is, the peace of mind I have. And what I've found is, if you don't waste your time with all those struggles and problems with the one bad apple, you end up flourishing with the ones that you do work with. So I would recommend, that doesn't work for if you work at a, over the counter or homes, whatever it is that you got to do. But even in home sales, I did home sales for a while. If you can build up a book of, referral service, people that you like, I think you make more than the one sell with the guy that took up 6 months of your time. Work with, try to surround yourself, I mean, it depends on what you're doing, right? That's such a broad question. But for me, my first thing is, if I'm going to start a business, I need to build a team, and I need to fill certain positions with the guy, the good, somebody that I would go out with, every day. I like him and he's got that talent. So that's what I did here. I mean, it was just talked about yesterday. One of my friends, he's like, dude, you did it again. You built the team. We didn't have anything but an idea. And then we got an Emmy award-winning producer, because we knew we were going to do a podcast or some videos or something. We got an award-winning author. We got like the 3D gaming guy. I mean, we put this team together. It was a skeleton, but all really cool people, all really talented, and all unique in their talents. To form a completion. And so yeah, if you're starting a company and you've got the funds, I mean, everybody here is working for free. So we've raised over $500,000 in just the family close friend round. And, that's what we had done. And so everybody's been working. We just do it for free. Of course we expect to make money, but eventually, but we've, you get that team, work with people you like, work with people you can. I like to work with people I respect, or at least, I don't know, good quality people.
Okay. It all comes down to people.
Yeah. Yeah. For me.
So then one final thing before we go. So, I've been asking these, this is like where to, like, flip it around, as it were. And I've been asking people sort of a couple of questions that link to the whole punk idea and its relationship with kind of customer experience, or just general experience in general. And there's two questions I've been asking. And the first question that I've been asking people is, what one word would you use to describe a punk approach to customer experience? What would it be? Or one or two words?
One word to the word that comes to mind. 2 words?
You can use 2 words, yeah.
Yeah, no, rocket. Like, I don't know. Like, that's what comes to mind. Like, flashes, like, rocket. Like, I don't know why, but that's, if you're asking for just general.
As in rocket, like a thing with a jet engine?
No, like rock the situation. Like, just get, I don't know, extremist. I grew up with punk music. Like, that's like, no, like, not real punk, like you probably know, but like, that's my thing. We always let's rock it. Let's go.
One
like,
of my favorite kind of like punk bands is a California band called Bad Religion.
Oh my gosh, yeah, no. So he's a teacher in University of San Diego, and his classes are always like completely overbooked. I've seen Bad Religion probably 45 times in live concerts. I bought a truck. And I'm not really that into music. I get something I like and it stays. And I had a truck for 5 years, 5 years worth of payments, and the Bad Religion tape never left. From the first day I got it, I put it in, and it was there the entire time. If it ever came out because somebody put it back in, it went right back in. The same tape. So I mean, I know my wedding, our groomsmen song was was Bad Religion as we walked into the party. So that I love Bad Religion. No Effects, I really love. But yeah, so Rocky. I mean, that's just to me. Probably has nothing to do with what you're saying, but that's what we'd be like. Hey, let's rock it, guys. We're gonna go surfing. Let's rock it. That was nice. That was punk.
No, that's completely cool. And I know that's definitely on my list. And my list is over 150 words long.
Oh wow!
And so that's definitely on it. It's definitely not on it, rather, and it will be on it now. Gotcha.
We'll be on it. All right, yeah. Well, hopefully that helps. I think that's really creative what you're doing, by the way. I love stuff like that. Let me slide this in real quick. What we're doing is we've made a license plate that says tobe3d.com, and we're taking them around the world, and we're taking pictures of in Costa Rica, and where it's been to 26 countries. And we got that idea from a restaurant that was right next to my house, and you walk in and everybody would have a license plate that said, I'd rather be a Big Belly Deli. And I walk in one day with my wife, and she's on the wall with the thing from a World Series game. I'm like, you're on the wall? And she's like, yeah. And we started always bringing people to that restaurant so we could show she was on the wall, So now we were trying to build a community around the world where they could say, I support tobe3d. And so that's a big part of our marketing plan. But the words, I don't know. I just like it. Very creative and cool.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'll try to remember. I'll try to remember that we should kind of see if we can get. That's for tobe3d, and I'll try and remember to scroll it on a thing. I'll send you a picture, and I'll see if I can.
So amazing.
I'll see if I can.
I'll email you. I'll email you a license plate. We have that.
Okay, and I'll do it. See if I can do it with a backdrop of either Leith Shore, which is close to where we live, or Edinburgh Castle.
Oh my gosh, that would be so cool of you. I would really, really, really appreciate that. We're going to start releasing them. So I've got hundreds, because I do a lot of travel and my friends and team and every people that we've had do it. So we're going to start putting those up as a big competition thing in Discord, give us the best picture from the best place. And you know what I mean? So that's if you do that, that would be really cool. I would really appreciate that.
Awesome. I will, if you send me, email me about that, I'll definitely do that for you.
Awesome.
Thank you. And then one final question is, what company or brand do you think is this experience related to the book called Punk XL? What company or brand do you think is an experienced leader? Who's raising the bar, across the piece?
That's a tough one. So I don't know. This is probably, I personally am super impressed with Charles Hoskinson. I don't know. He's the creator of Cardano. I've been following Cardano and its crypto company. I've been following the company, and I mean, most crypto companies. When I said before, I like to work with people that are good people. The one thing that I can't handle is disrespectful people. That people that think if I have more money than you, you are less than me, or if I have a better, you're less than me. This guy he comes across to me as so humble, and he's so active with the community when he holds such a high position and such a big, and there's a lot of reasons to not like Cardano. They've not hit deadlines. They've not done this, but whatever it is, he comes out there and he talks to the community. He's very active, and he's running a company that could possibly change the world. Now, it may not be Cardano. It might be this or that or whatever it is, but the way that he's doing it is inspiring to me. I would say, there's hundreds, right? But recently I've just been really following the way, I've watched, what is it? We Win or WeWorks and the Uber two documentary or little shows on CEOs that, it got to their head, right?
Right.
And I want to make sure that doesn't happen to me ever. So I'm doing that as like to learn lessons of don't do that. But the way he comes across as just somebody that really wants to change the world for good. I mean, they're in Africa and they're going to give identity to all these people with no identity, no driver's license, no anything. They want to, they're going to have their own ID. They're starting with. I just love that. I love like what you said with the metaverse. How you were this story. You saw something coming in. When I see a story where it's changing lives like that, it just impresses me. It impresses me. I mean, that's the same thing with Bitcoin in El Salvador. I mean, all these people that just they don't have it. I love it. So yeah, and I apologize, Charles, if you're listening, that I don't remember how to say your last name exactly, but
that's fine. I'll look him up and I'll kind of do a kind of a link in the
perfect
in the kind of the show notes or the highlights I write up. But it's Cardano, and it's kind of their kind of big cheese is called Charles Hodgkinson maybe, but definitely called Charles. And so we'll kind of like big shout out to him. But
yeah, okay, awesome. Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, it's, like I said, it's just an impressive leader. You know, I know backstory on the company, and like they raised money through their sell, and then they went and they got, you know, like big corporate like money and all this stuff, and you would expect it to be stiff. You know, but then you get the CEO that comes out and he's just like, you know, Colorado, and just like, hey, you know, I just wanted to, but it just doesn't match what you would expect. And I do think Web3, when we kind of said that before, Web3 is different than Web2 as far as the roles, the people that are in the game right now. I'm sure they're sharks, right? But the majority of the people that I run into are those cool people.
Right.
They've got genius ideas. They're not saying like, oh crap, you're gonna steal my idea. They're saying like, oh my gosh, we could probably work together and do this, because there's so much to be done. There's so many things that this new magic, as you put it earlier, can bring.
Awesome, Robert. Thank you. That's all I have today. But I just wanted to say, first of all, well done, and thank you for the work that you're doing, particularly around alleviating some of the suffering that the veterans go through, particularly around PTSD, and trying to kind of help them kind of like just get better, and how that's going to go. Thank you for kind of helping me educate myself, so I understand a bit more about the kind of the possibilities of all that. Because I know a little bit about kind of like Web3 or the metaverse and kind of NFTs and Bitcoin or blockchain technology and all that sort of like stuff. But, you know, I always had a bit reservations about some of it. I can see some of the applications of it, but it's like, I like the kind of the real world connect, as it were. And you've kind of shown me kind of the art of the possible, as it were, which is kind of very cool. And just want to say thank you for sharing your time and your insight and your energy with us today. That's been super cool.
Well, I want to say thank you very much for letting us get this important message out. I mean, and I'm really, really excited. This is something, like I said, our Discord's firing up right now, just knowing that I'm coming on here. So we really, really appreciate it. And thank you. I appreciate it.
Well, that was cool. I hope you enjoyed it. I did, and I always do, actually, because I always learn something new when I speak to some of these amazing people. And it's always something new that I can incorporate into my writing, speaking, workshops, and other sort of advisory work that I do. Now, if you're interested in learning about any of that sort of stuff, then you can find out more about how I work with clients over at adrianswinscoe.com. But one final thing before I go, please consider heading over to iTunes or Spotify or whichever podcast platform you choose to use, and do leave a review. Every little helps, as they say. Anyway, that's all for now. Thank you for listening, and do tune in again soon. All the very best. Cheers. Bye.